Hey, where's Hickok 45? Where's the old man? Oh wait, I forgot. You're supposed to ask me that. Sorry, I forgot my place for a second. John Hickok here. Got the Gen 5 Glock 19, and just going to do a chapter 2 with it. And those of you who've been watching the channel for a long time know that means that I'm going to shoot like this more often than talk. Hopefully, right? Start on the stop sign. I wasn't actually trying to hit the targets over there. I was just trying to scare them, to disorient them while I shot these other targets over here, just in case you're wondering about my strategy. So chapter 2, Gen 5, Glock 19. Of course, first, before we get started. All right, so the Gen 5, Glock 19, I want to refer you to the original video, of course. You know, Dad kind of goes into all the changes and the differences, but really quickly, I'll remind you of some of the big ones. Before I shoot it some more here in just a second. You've got the they did away with the finger grooves again, which you have on the Gen 3 and the Gen 4, not on the Gen 2 or the Gen 1. They went back to this little cut here like you have on the Gen 2, and I think the Gen 1 Glocks, a lot of people get the Gen 2 and Gen 1 Glocks confused. The Generation 1 Glocks, you can look up pictures of them online. You basically almost never ever see those. If you see a really old looking Glock that has a flat front strap like that, it's probably a Gen 2. The Gen 1 has a different texture. Just look up some pictures of it online. You'll see that it looks different. And then also the beveling of the contour on the front of the slide, and you also have the ambi slide lock, slide release. And you went back to kind of it's a totally different finish, but it's kind of more like the slide finish on the Gen 3. It's kind of, it's kind of slick, and everything like that. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, but those are kind of the big changes. And we'll get more into it. Of course, I'll talk some more about it while I'm shooting. Okay, let's load up another mag. See if I can do a little bit better than I did on that first run. It's it's very Glock if you're thinking about getting one of these. Oh yeah, the bevel magwell. That's a big thing right there. Which I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my opinions on some of these. Since you've heard Dad's opinions, I'll give you some of mine, just in case you care about that. But it's very much a Glock. Other than those subtle changes. If you're used to the Glock 19, you're going to pick one of these up and shoot it, and it's just going to feel very Glock 19 to you. All right. Blue 2-liter, red 2-liter, orange 2-liter. It's still there. Got it. Go ahead and take out the other 2-liters. Pot smoking. Got it. All right. So the Glock 19 is a pretty, it's a gun or pistol I would consider to be kind of an industry standard of sorts. Glocks attract a lot of haters, just like anything that's popular. There's just some sort of fundamental law of nature, human nature, where something is really popular, even if it's something that's a tool and it's not like a work of art or like music or movies or something like that. Even something that's very measurable, it's still just a lot more controversy than you would think a lot of times about something that's very popular based on its functionality. There are of course plenty of reasons to not like Glocks. but it's a very controversial firearm for some reason. But I consider them to be kind of an industry standard. Not that necessarily they're the best gun. You know, they just happen to be my favorite gun when it comes to just a modern pistol, polymer pistol. But a lot of people like them, and I think they're pretty solid, and they have a good track record. With that being said, the Gen 5, I don't love some of the changes that they made. You know, I wish I could sort of Frankenstein my favorite parts from the different generations. And I'll tell you, if I could do that, the things that I've seen Glock do that I like is I like the front serrations that they've put on the Glock 45. I like that. I think that's kind of cool. I like the slide finish from the Gen 4, and I like the finger grooves, you know, from the Gen 3 and Gen 4. You know, it's funny. I didn't think that I liked them until I had a Gen 2 Glock, and I got it specifically for that purpose. Of course, before the Gen 5 came out, this is several years ago, and I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I preferred the feel of the Gen 3 and the Gen 4. The backstrap system is something that I can take or leave, but I think it's probably an advantage. It's nice to have those options. The ambi slide lock, you know, I'm right-handed, so I don't really care about that, but that's not something that's really in the way. But I don't love the finish on here because it's really slick. It does look nice. I know some people complained about the Gen 4 finish because it was kind of a more grayish kind of color, and it wore kind of quickly. You know, it just started to show wear. But again, it's a tool. You know, that was not something that bothered me at all. The beveled magwell is the biggest thing about the Gen 5 that I don't like very much, because I've always felt like, now if you're shooting competition, if that's your only concern, that's a whole different ball game. But for a combat handgun, a handgun that you're going to carry concealed, it seems to me like on a double stacked pistol, a beveled magwell is very much overkill, because you know you already have, you know, obviously for those of you who don't know, a beveled magwell, you're essentially creating a funnel for the magazine. That's kind of the idea. The exact opposite of that would be like a standard government 1911, where the front of the magazine is like almost the same size as the magazine well. But on a double stack magazine, you know, the magazine itself sort of gives you that, because you have a lot more of that taper effect, you know, because you're going from 2, you know, down to 1 round. So it just doesn't seem necessary. It seems a bit overkill. And yeah, you might think, well, why not just have it anyways? What's it hurting? Well, it one of the things it does is it makes it, well, not with that magazine. With the flush magazine, it makes it harder to get the magazine out. Now, that's why they did that little cutout right there, but I don't necessarily like pulling it out from there. I want to just kind of grab it this way. So it kind of gets in the way of that. And also, if you have big hands like I do and Dad does, you can kind of feel it down there, and it just sort of is, I don't know, annoying or irritating. It's not a big deal, but it's just, to me, not necessary. And it does add to the size, the grip of the pistol. So if you're carrying this thing concealed, you have a little bit bigger grip, a little more that's going to stick out. Pretty small. It's, you know, it's not a big deal, but you know, it's enough to kind of, you know, make me probably stay away from the Gen 5. So whatever that's worth. Okay. Shoot. Let's. I'm gonna shoot some over on the other hill now. Let me grab a couple of magazines, put them in my pocket. I'm not going back and forth as much. Okay. Let's start on the gong. I'm gonna go for this, kind of the bigger hanging plate down there in the bottom right. probably shouldn't try this, but for some reason that if you look, there's a little plate that's sitting up on a post right behind the one I was just shooting at. If you hit that, it'll slide down, and I'm itching to hit it and make it slide down. So I'm gonna take a few shots at it. Let's do a tactical reload here. See if I can pop them. Those are a lot of fun. We need to get some more of those. That was fun. Let's see if I can hit the center block over there. I pretty much took him out. Maybe while I'm at it, I'll go for the red plate over on the right. It's a tough target. All right, let's come back close. It's fun shooting over there, even though it's you know, there's nothing practical really about shooting a handgun that far, especially one like this. But it's really fun. It's what's neat about the way this range is set up and the way Dad set it up many years ago, is having the big targets up close. They're just fun. You can shoot fast, and then having stuff out there that is more of a challenge. You know, you're not going to hit it as often, but when you do hit it, you know, it feels good. It makes you feel like you know what you're doing. All right. Super speed reloads here. Let's take out this pot over here. All right. I am going to load up one other magazine. We'll load up this big mag and shoot these last two. One more magazine isn't just quite enough for me. So yeah, get a little close-up action of it while I'm doing that. Oh yeah, by the way, if someone out there is named Ben Waite is a last name that I've heard before. So if your name is Ben Waite and you were born in 1988, this is a gun for you. He's out there somewhere, and he wants a Glock 19, and Dad's got his gun. It's kind of neat when, I don't know if you guys have ever had a gun where a serial number just sort of, you know, of course, accidentally has some sort of meaning to you, like has your initials in it, or, you know, or something like that. I don't know, something kind of neat about that. I wish that Glock had a full custom shop, you know, like kind of like Smith & Wesson Performance Center, or some, you know, different gun companies have stuff that's, you know, made to order or whatever, because none of the Glock generations have all of my favorite Glock features. And of course, the big thing, like Dad's mentioned and lots of people have mentioned, and a big reason people say Glocks are overrated is, you know, this grip angle. You know, I'd love to have a Glock with a less prominent raised. You know, it's sort of like the raised mainspring housing on a 1911. You know, I would rather it just be completely straight and 1911 style grip, and that's why a lot of the other polymer pistols have had success, even despite the popularity of the Glocks, because they've had closer to a 1911 style grip angle, which a lot of people prefer. You know, why Glock doesn't somehow make that available through these back straps, I don't know. But even beyond that, it'd be really cool, like I was saying earlier, to be able to kind of mix and match, you know, all the different features that I like from the different generations, because it seems like each one has some little thing about it that kind of irritates me or that I don't love. But I will say my favorite Glock generation is probably 4. I think Gen 4 is my favorite one. Oops. Out of all of them, you know, it just has the best balance of the features that I like. But the Gen 5 is not bad. You know, I feel like people were kind of like a little bit harsher on this gun than they should have been about some of the changes and different things. You know, I don't love a lot of the changes on this one, but you know, it shoots fine and operates fine. That's not a big deal. Okay, 2 more mags, and then let you guys go on and watch some other YouTube videos that are much better than this one, right? Okay, I'm just gonna shoot some big stuff up close. That's what's fun to me right now. Don't worry, I'm going to pick those mags up. One thing I found with shooting faster, I wouldn't call what I'm doing as, I wouldn't say it's shooting fast per se, but I found that it's interesting how, you know, there's a certain speed. You got to find like this certain groove. That there's a certain, everyone has a certain speed that they are capable of, and you have to sort of find that little niche and groove, because it's weird how if you go just a little faster than that, then it's like your technique and your shooting and hits and everything just falls apart, you know. But then you just dial it back, like earlier there, and I got into a big missing strain. I was trying to go too fast, and I dialed it back just a tad, just a little bit, almost you might not even be able to notice it. And then I started hitting more. It's a weird, you know, shooting is like this really weird, like slippery thing, you know. It's like you have it and then it's gone, and then, you know, so it takes a lot of mental discipline, a lot of years of practice. So whatever that's worth. Glock 19 Gen 5. It's you know, it's a pretty solid handgun. Again, the Glock 19 is just an industry standard. It's a good gun to recommend to someone who is buying their first handgun, because, you know, it's small enough that you can carry it big enough that you can feel comfortable using it for home defense. 9mm, not much recoil. It's a very versatile round, available, cheap to shoot. You know, Glocks have a great track record. I mean, it's a gun that you can't go wrong with. There may be lots of other guns out there that you can do better with, but it's hard to go wrong with one of these things. And like I said, I don't love some of the additions of the Gen 5, especially the bevel magwell, but it's not bad. It's Glock, you know, it works, and it's fun to shoot. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate you checking out the video, and see you next time. Doing a little spring training, as I do here on the compound often. Since I've got you here, I want to remind you to check out our friends over at SDI and Talon Grips. SDI is a fully accredited online distance learning program where you can become certified in gunsmithing or get an associate's degree in firearms technology. That's SDI, the Sonoran Desert Institute. Go to sdi.edu for more information. Talon Grips is a company that makes grips. Big surprise there, right? You can check them out at talongungrips.com. They make various types of grips for various types of firearms. They go over your existing grips. You go to the website, talongungrips.com, and see what all they have over there. We appreciate them and their support, and we hope that you support the companies that support us. Also, while you are on the internet, which I assume you are at this time, go to hickok45.com and check out everything we have over there. We have links to all of our social media, our merchandise, which you can find also at bunkerbranding.com. We have t-shirts and hats and mugs and drink koozies and different things like that. On social media, there is Hickok, the real Hickok45 on Instagram, Hickok45 on Twitter, Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also a page I have called John_Hickok45 on Instagram and John Hickok on Facebook. So please check all that stuff out. when you get a chance. But, you know, watch some more videos. Have fun out there. Talk to you guys later.